Can the Chicago Bears secondary be top 16 in the NFL this year? Will we extend Dave Montgomery after this season? I'll be answering all those questions and more from you guys in this video right here. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears all-season discussion video. I want to do a mailbag video for the first time ever. I've never done a mailbag type of thing where I've had you guys, ask me questions and answering them, and I thought, why not do it right now? Okay, we have about 3 more weeks until training camp starts. It's like July 26th, I believe, and there's not going to be much NFL news until training camp begins. When training camp begins, then I'll probably have daily uploads for you guys covering those training camp practices like I do basically every single year. But right now, there's a bit of a break, so I'm going to be answering some of the questions that you guys gave me in my community tab post, which I made about last week, I think. And if you guys missed out on the chance to do that, I'll have another one probably after this, so I'll probably make another community tab post where you guys can ask me questions, and I'll probably keep on doing this until training camp starts, or maybe even into the NFL season if there's enough interest in it, if you guys enjoy these videos. But putting all that aside, guys, let's begin with the first question. Alright, so the first question is from JF1 Bears Forever. Will we extend Dave Montgomery? We're for sure keeping Roquan Smith, but I would love to keep our franchise running back too. That is a good question because Dave Montgomery is coming onto the last year of his contract. 2022 is the last year of his rookie contract. If Ryan Poles doesn't extend him, he will no longer be a Bear after this season. And obviously, if you go around the Bears fan base, everybody loves Dave Montgomery. Okay, how can you not love Dave Montgomery? He's one of the hardest workers on the team. He's always a good leader in the locker room. He's always out there pumping our team up. He's one of the most enthusiastic players on the team. So obviously, a high energy guy like this, you would want to keep for long term. But if you look at Ryan Poles and his history with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs are not an organization that's been paying their running backs big money at all. Okay, if you look throughout the last 5-6 years, they draft running backs pretty frequently, but they have not been paying any of the running backs, big time money, and it's worked for them, right? I mean, they won a Super Bowl by doing that. They had Damian Williams go off for like 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl win. He was basically a random running back on that rotation. So this running back by committee type of approach is becoming more common in today's NFL. Drafting running backs every single year instead of paying big money to running backs is also becoming more common. And if you look around the NFL, some teams that have paid big money to their running backs, for example, like the Dallas Cowboys paid Ezekiel Elliott, a big amount of money. Then they got Tony Pollard, the young guy who's been performing better than Zeke. They've regretted that decision. I'm not saying that means in no circumstance are we going to extend Monty, because I feel like if Monty wants to come back on a team-friendly contract, okay, not breaking the bank, but on a team-friendly contract, there is a scenario in which he can come back. But if he wants to be paid like a top running back, I can't see Ryan Poles giving him that contract. And also, if Khalil Herbert has a great second year, this year I expect, Monty and Herbert to basically share carries, maybe not 50-50, but there's going to be a lot of carries for Khalil Herbert. He had a great 2021, a great rookie year. He went off against some top run defenses, like for example the Buccaneers. He had over 100 yards against that defense, showed a lot of speed, a lot of burst, a lot of power. He's a great fit in this Shanahan zone type of scheme. Now Monty and Herbert as a 1-2 punch could be a fantastic duo. That could potentially be one of the best 1-2 duos in the NFL, in which case, it would still be nice to keep Monty here long term if we can get him at a team friendly price. Next question we have is from Aiden M. Do you think that the Bears secondary could surprise people and be top 16 in the league? Yes, I think that's definitely possible. In fact, I'm expecting the Bears secondary to be top 16 in the NFL, mainly because we added a whole lot of talent in the offseason, and we're also getting a strong defensive-minded coach with cover 2 principles that have, worked for a lot of lesser talented players in the past. If you look at the Colts secondaries over the years, there hasn't been a crazy amount of star-studded talent on it. Obviously, they got Kenny Moore, really good slot cornerback, but aside from that, it's been some older players, it's been some younger players too, which Eberflus has gotten the absolute most out of. And this Bears secondary right now, from a talent perspective, might be one of the more talented ones he's had on paper in a few years, guys. I'm not even exaggerating on that. Okay, Jalen Johnson is a young ascending corner. He's 23 years old. Very athletic. You got Kyler Gordon in the draft, very athletic as well. A lot of potential, especially in a zone type of scheme. He could be, maybe like a Kyle Fuller type of cornerback. If you look at Jaquan Brisker, hard hitting, strong safety, better in coverage than most strong safeties, can make plays on the ball And obviously, Eddie Jackson has not been the same Eddie Jackson we've been used to at the beginning of his career, but I feel like Bears fans are underrating what his potential can be playing next to his true box safety like Jaquan Brisker, and also playing for, coach and Matt Eberflus, who's definitely going to get the best out of Eddie Jackson. If Eddie Jackson does not, put in the effort, he's probably going to be benched, right? Because Eberflus has not been shy at benching players, at least already in OTAs. So from a talent perspective, this could definitely be a top 16 secondary. The only question I have is, are there going to be any growing pains? There probably will be, because we have a lot of younger guys on the secondary now. But even through those growing pains, I think we have the potential to be top 16, with the proper coaching and at full health. Jason Adkins asked, besides wide receiver, I assume this should be pick number 1. What in your early 2023 first round pick position group do you think we should target? So besides receiver, I would say the biggest needs on the Bears right now are defensive line and offensive line. Talking about the defensive line, Matt Eberflus's defense requires a pretty explosive 3 technique, and right now we have a backup plan at our 3 tech spot. So if we can get a very explosive interior defensive lineman, I think that Ryan Poles would be all over that. Maybe also an offensive lineman, right? Because we don't have a whole lot of proven talent on the offensive line. It's going to be a bunch of young guys this year, and I could definitely see that being a priority for the Bears if some of our young guys don't work out this year. Me Mafia asks, realistically, how do you think Ryan Poles will approach next offseason with the resources he has and the roster building mindset he also has? That's a good question, because Ryan Poles has stressed he doesn't want to overspend on anybody, but in free agency, you basically have to, right? Like, we're going to have $100 million to spend. We have so many needs all over the roster. We're going to have to fill in these needs eventually. And I think that next offseason, we are going to be spending big. I don't see us, overpaying anybody that much, but we'll be overpaying some players at least a little bit, right? Because that's what happens in free agency, and you got to spend this money. I mean, there's a salary floor in the NFL. We are way below the salary floor for 2023 simply because we don't have that many guys under contract. So this team should look very different after the 2023 offseason. We're going to have a high, top 10, maybe top 15 pick, right? Because the team isn't going to be really good this year. So I think it's going to be a lot more investments into the offense, into the offensive line, getting more veterans in here, guys that are a little bit older, because at that point, the roster would be in better position to be paying those players, because at that point, you would probably know what you have in Justin Fields. Obviously, you're not giving Justin Fields a very great team this year, but if he shows any improvement at all, if the guys in the building like what they see in Justin Fields, then you can surround Justin Fields with a very good supporting cast in 2023. All right, so we got a question from JRod3875. What do you think will happen with Robert Quinn this season? What kind of picks or offensive weapons do you think we could get out of him if he got traded? So, obviously you guys know Robert Quinn has not showed up to mandatory OTAs. It remains to be seen if he'll show up to training camp. If he doesn't show up to training camp, then I'm assuming he's going to get traded, right? Because if you don't participate in anything in the offseason, I mean, you obviously don't want to be with the Bears. And it's already questionable if he wants to be with the Bears long term, because he skipped mandatory OTAs. So if that's truly the case, if he doesn't want to be here, then I think Ryan Poles, could find a trade for him maybe before the season. And as for, what type of picks, what type of offensive weapons we could get for Robert Quinn, I don't think it's going to be a crazy amount, just because, I know he's coming off an 18.5 sack season, but he is getting up there in age. He's been a little bit inconsistent. He's had some really great years followed by not so good years. So I think the max we could get out of Robert Quinn is probably like a 2nd round pick. But what I'm thinking is going to happen is that we trade him for like around a 3rd round pick and maybe like a 6th rounder with that. I think that would be a solid return for Robert Quinn, just because you're not going to get too much more for an aging pass rusher. But I could be wrong, right? I mean, Von Miller got traded for like a 2nd and a 3rd mid-season, which if you want to hold on to Robert Quinn, during the season, even if he doesn't want to be here, and then trade him mid-season, that could also be a possibility to maybe get more value, from a desperate team. Trust Seeker 62 asks, who do you think would be looked at more fondly by Bears fans by the end of their careers, Kyle Fuller or Jalen Johnson? This is a good question, okay? Kyle Fuller was with the Bears for a long time, almost 7 years, and he had some good moments, obviously, with the Bears. He was part of that fearsome 2018 defense and was a good, solid, reliable corner for the majority of his Bears career. Okay, Bears fans basically love Kyle Fuller, but I do think that Jalen Johnson has a higher ceiling than Kyle Fuller ever had, okay? Because if you look at his abilities, especially in man coverage, he can cover, some of the best receivers in the NFL one-on-one in a way that I don't think Kyle Fuller necessarily could. Kyle Fuller was a great zone corner, but Jalen Johnson is faster, more athletic. I think he has a higher ceiling overall, and if he reaches the ceiling, Jalen Johnson is going to be a better overall cornerback than Kyle Fuller was. No disrespect to Kyle Fuller, but Jalen Johnson has the potential to be a top 5 cornerback in the game. He's already gotten respect from Devontae Adams, from Cooper Kupp, okay, some of the best receivers in the NFL. It all depends on if he can stay healthy and if he actually reaches that pretty high ceiling. Tom Thumb asked, the Bears don't have their bye week until week 14. Do you think that'll be an issue with the team so young? You know, that's obviously not ideal. You would like to have your bye week a little bit earlier. You know, maybe like week 8, week 9 would be the sweet spot, but you can't help your schedule, okay? That's something you can't control. And, you know, although it might suck for these younger players, especially guys coming from college football like Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, who have never played this many games in a row in the past, you know, I think they should still mostly be fine because they're professional athletes, guys. Like, these guys train hard. Eberflus has also been stressing how important, you know, conditioning is going to be for all the players. So I don't think it's going to be a big concern, but it's obviously not something you would like. All right, R. Pi Howard asks, people talk about our offensive defense. How do you feel about our special teams? Our special teams is going to be a big unknown this year because we're going to have so many new people, you know, in the coverage units, in the, you know, return game. At punter too, we have a rookie punter, Trenton Gill, which I don't know what to think about him, right? Because until I see him punt in the NFL, I can't have a solid opinion on him. But, you know, at least for the punter spot, right? Like, he can't be that much worse probably than what Pat O'Donnell was, because Pat O'Donnell was not like one of the best punters in the NFL. He was like average, but he didn't have like a crazy good leg. But Trenton Gill, you know, in this year's draft class, at least, he was rated as being one of the best punters in the class. So hopefully Trenton Gill turns out fine. Our kicker spot, I'm not worried about at all. Cairo Santos has been, you know, money for the last 2 years. So at kicker, we're fine. But the coverage units and the return units, I really can't give you an answer on how good they're going to be, because until I see some type of tape, at least from like preseason or camp or something, like, I don't know what it's going to be like. We have a new special teams coordinator as well. Hightower coming over for the 49ers, where he coached the 49ers up pretty well with their special teams. So hopefully that translates to the Chicago Bears as well. All right, then finally, last question from Chris Barber. I would like to know your opinion on the offensive line. So I'm not the highest on the offensive line right now, obviously, because there's just too many unknowns for you to be too high on the Bears offensive line. I think it can be improved from last year. I think it can be average at its very best, but I don't think it's going to be like a top 10, top 5 unit, simply because there's too many unknowns. Okay, we have rookies potentially starting. We have young guys starting at tackle. You know, Larry Borum, Tevin Jenkins. I don't even know who's playing at right guard now. Like, who was our right guard? It was going to be Dakota Dozier, at least in training camp. It might be Braxton Jones. It might be, you know, one of our rookies. So we really have no idea what the final 5 is going to look like. And until I see some tape, at least even in preseason, I can't really say too much. But the Bears will be expecting, you know, some of these young guys to step up and play big roles on the Bears offensive line and develop pretty fast. Okay, we're going to need Tevin Jenkins to have maybe a breakout season. We're going to need possibly a rookie to start somewhere. We're going to need Larry Borum to have a good year. We're going to need Cody Whiter to have a bounce back season. So there's a lot of, you know, stuff that has to go right for the Bears offensive line to be great, but anything is possible, right? With the proper coaching, with proper scheming as well. Our scheming and our coaching was horrible the last 4 years, so hopefully it's improved now, and hopefully for Justin Fields' sake, we have a better offensive line. But yeah, guys, those are all the questions I'll be answering in this video. I apologize if I didn't get to your question, but you'll have more opportunities in the future. I'll probably make a community post again this week where you guys can ask me more questions, and hopefully I'll get to your question then. I don't want to make this video too extremely long. It's already like almost 14 minutes, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good weekend as well, and as always, bear down.